the internet of value at Ripple, we're thinking much bigger than just cross-border payments. It's kind of like Amazon with rare books in the early days, just this market happens to be a $10 trillion market.
We are at a historic turning point.
Said in the past that you are doing for money what email did for communication.
Moving the whole revolution forward. There's trillions of dollars parked around the world. XRP.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over Swift one day?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to an episode of 24 Hours Crypto. Let's get right in today's video. A long-term play is what Marcus Treacher is calling for XRP and its currency.
So this isn't a speculated currency. It's a currency which is a long-term play for the future global transaction space. And that, I think, is incredibly powerful.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. This video is going to be so well put together that you are going to walk away understanding exactly what's going on behind the scenes, exactly who is involved, and exactly how big XRP is going to get. We got some video evidence by Marcus Treacher, Miguel Diaz, which is mind-blowing stuff. You can't miss a second of this. Where do we even begin? Talking about long-term hold. Take a look at what David Schwartz tweeted out. What do you call a bad short-term investment? And then he goes on to say a long-term investment. Is he hinting something at the XRP community? Because everybody says XRP is, such a bad hold, but we, the holders that understand the value behind XRP and how it's going to be driven by its utility power, we got nothing to worry about. We just sit back and watch history be unfolded. With that being said, we have Singapore among world's first to agree stablecoin crypto regulation. This was just published 3 hours ago. Ripple has a big say in this. Ripple has a big play in this as well. Keep in mind, the stablecoin market is valued at around $125 billion, with two tokens, Tether's USDT and Circle's USDC, dominating roughly 90% of the market cap value. And also keep in mind that reserves that the bank stablecoins must be held in low risk and highly liquid assets. So they must equal or exceed the value of the stablecoin in circulation at all times, the rule said. And remember what Jeremy Allaire said about leveraging Brad's company.
USDC itself we've seen over $3.5 trillion of transactions directly on the internet between counterparties. And so if we can, improve it with more scalable blockchain technologies like, Brad's company.
You see how this is all making sense? USDC, USDT, stablecoins in general will still require Ripple. They still need to all communicate to each other, and you're going to hear that from Diaz. It is so massive here. Who is Miguel Diaz? Okay, well, Mr. Miguel is head of Toronto Center BIS Innovation Hub, and prior to that, he's been with the Banco de Mexico for a while, okay, since 2002. And then he went on to the BIS. And what was he looking over at Banco de Mexico? It was the General Director of Payment System and Market Infrastructure. There's a lot to say here. Because if we go into a letter that was sent from Ripple to Central Bank of Mexico, guess who it was attention to? Miguel Diaz, right here, ladies and gentlemen, Director of Payments, Miguel Diaz. They all know what's happening. Miguel Diaz, let this sink in. Letter from Ripple, direct it to him, Director of Payments. And then, don't forget, BBVA completes first real-time international money transfer between Europe and Mexico with Ripple. Now take a listen to what Miguel Diaz said here. We said this in the past. All of this technology they need to communicate to each other. And Ripple is the best at doing that. So take a listen to what he says, and then we're going to get into Marcus Treacher.
We can see three dimensions here.
One is the technical dimension, so how we manage to get a system that speaks in a certain cryptographic language to speak with another that speaks another slightly different language. So that is one level of complexity. We need to get the technologies to speak to each other. The messaging element is fundamental. The second dimension, which is much more complicated to solve, so that one, the first one was the easy one, okay? And there is a lot of money that is being put in terms of trying to solve these technical issues of interoperability. So imagine that you have a pair of currencies for which there is not a complementary demand. You need to go and search for a third-party currency in order to make this settlement actually happen. And this really complicates things, so we need to put pieces of technology that can make more efficiency this use of liquidity so that more transactions can be settled. The third dimension, which is even more difficult than the previous one, is how do we manage to get homogeneity in terms of the policy requirements on different countries.
And a quick overview on Marcus Treacher from Brad Garlinghouse.
One of the former board members of SWIFT, a gentleman Marcus Treacher, joined our team to run all of customer success. And, this was, a former board member from SWIFT coming over and saying, hey, we don't think SWIFT's going to be necessarily a solution to really unlocking this Internet of Value. These are, marks along the journey.
And now take a listen to what Miguel Diaz said and then what Marcus Treacher said.
The second dimension, which is much more complicated to solve, it has to do with liquidity.
The second half of the problem is all around liquidity. And the kind of elephant in the room is today the world locks up around, I think it's around 10 to 15, whatever, $trillion at any one time in balances and nostros in different parts of the world to fund payments which are sent in great big chunks at end of day or end of week. The opportunity here with CBDCs running domestically and with a bridge asset, another cryptocurrency model, a bridge asset to connect those CBDCs together, the opportunity is to deliver liquidity on point, in the moment, in microseconds from one part of the world to another. And the model that we focus on is using XRP, which is a very high velocity and very high volume digital asset. It's a free floating asset, unlike a CBDC or stablecoin. Use it as a bridge currency between these CBDCs. So you imagine a world in future where there are, let's say, 180 individual CBDCs per jurisdiction in the world. Making markets between those CBDCs is quite challenging unless you have a common single point, the bridge currency, which then enables connections to be made more efficiently and markets to be made between these individual currencies. So you put that together with both the bridge currency between those CBDCs and the overriding ledger connection between the blockchains that run those CBDCs, and you are kind of redefining how value is moved cross-border.
That Miguel Diaz video is only about 2 months old, so they still don't have a fix to their problem, but Ripple is the solution to their problem, and that is why it's taking so long. This is a long-term play. The future model they're creating for XRP is supposed to handle hundreds of billions of dollars. And on top of that, exchange in between 180 different CBDCs. Now again, let's go back to what Marcus Treacher has to say. This is a very high reputable individual making these bold statements and basically forgetting that he even worked at SWIFT, because SWIFT is such an old legacy system that is going to burn and crash, or they need to adopt to the new technology and have a plug-and-play system.
And we look at XRP as an intrinsic component of the future model. So this isn't a speculated currency. It's a currency which is a long-term play for the future global transaction space. And that, I think, is incredibly powerful. So we're here for the long game, and we're delighted at the rise of XRP and its resilience. And we believe that in the long term, it'll grow quite healthily as a result of what we're doing by creating this Internet of Value. And, you know, transforming how payments work worldwide, that's a really big deal. That is transformative. And again, one of my earlier slides about payments being the bedrock of everything else that happens on blockchain, that's so true. If you get this right, everything else will start to build. And that's why what we're doing, I think, is so important.
The second dimension, which is much more complicated to solve, it has to do with liquidity.
It's the same through a decentralized model, which is infinitely scalable. Supporting that, we have our liquidity proposition, which uses XRP, and that's a classic blockchain, but XRP was designed from the outset for transacting. So unlike the likes of Bitcoin, which is like very slow and slows down as you continue to build on volume, the XRP model is very, very, very high speed and very high capacity. So the liquidity part is very adequately served by the XRP model. The wider network we're creating, where if you're really going to create something of value for the 7 billion people in the world, or 9 billion by 2050, you've got to have a very open internet type model. And that's what we have with our ex-current RippleNet model.
Liquidity, interoperability, and regulation and a jurisdictionless asset is going to be one of the most important aspects of this new crypto revolution. And Ripple has all that built into its digital asset XRP. And like I said, 180 different CBDCs, derivatives, FX markets, bond settlements, stock settlements, tokenized real estate, anything with value they're bringing on to the blockchain. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And we will be back with another video.
We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening. Flip the switch. I think what we're building has, it's solving a real problem. And I think all of the tokens, my advice to anybody would be, understand the utility. If there's real utility and there's real value being delivered to a real customer, there will be value in the token.